Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitang Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Adwaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's always nice when I open my eyes and there's more people here. So welcome to day number 2. Yesterday, we shared 2 nature analogies. I'm just going to mention them again quick, and some of you may not have been here yesterday as well. But we spoke about the musk deer, the deer that runs through the forest searching for an aroma that is enchanting, running and searching and even collapsing, exhausted, not realizing that the aroma was within itself all the time. And the yogis are saying that we are like these deer, that there's something within us that we're searching for externally, and that's happiness. We're searching for it here, we're searching for it there, we're running around, chasing it wherever we can, thinking that external objects, external circumstances will give us the happiness that we're looking for, when it never does. Actually, it may give some fleeting kind of happiness, some fleeting kind of satisfaction, something that comes and goes. We call that happiness. The realized yogis say that's not even what happiness is. It's kind of a reflection of happiness. It's not even the real thing. And even when we get it, it slips away. It slips through our fingers. And then we experience the opposite. We go up and then we come down, then we experience the pain. And we see, we don't have to look far. We see even the people that become materially successful, they gain wealth, they gain adoration and fame, they gain power, they achieve their materialistic goals, they still do not find happiness. It's still something that they may be less happy than the average person. The strategy is flawed, it doesn't work. So the yogis are saying, let's not be like these deer, searching for happiness externally when it's lying within us all along. We have to turn within. We have to understand the nature of the self. We have to become self-realized. This is the goal, right? Self-realization. Who am I? Who am I really underneath it all? So that was one nature analogy. What was the other nature analogy? Does anyone remember?
About the moon?
Yes, thank you. Then this great sage Vidura asked another sage Maitreya. He asks, if by nature we're unchanging, sat, right? And if by nature we're blissful, ananda, then why are we not experiencing bliss all the time? It's a good question, right? I think a way that we might phrase that same question now is, how do we lose touch with that nature? How do we lose touch with it? And essentially, Maitreya's answer was, you've actually never lost touch with it. It's not like it slipped away. The ananda, the bliss of the self, hasn't escaped you. You're just looking in the wrong place. You're identifying the self in the wrong location. And the analogy that he used for that was the full moon, right? If we look up at nighttime and we see the full moon, it's steady. It's not shifting, it's not rippling, it's not expanding or contracting. It just shines steadily there. But if we look at the reflection of the moon on the water, on the river, on the rippling water, and this phrase that I'm about to use now is key, then it appears that the moon has taken on the qualities of the river, which is always shifting and moving and rippling. So it seems like the moon is shifting and changing and rippling. So in the same way, this is key. This is a mystery of life right here, a key to understanding what it's all about. When we identify the mind as the self, then it appears that the self has taken on the qualities of the mind. And the mind is always shifting, always changing, always rippling. The self is steady, but the mind is always changing. So we haven't lost touch with it. It's just that we're looking at the mind and considering the mind to be the self. That makes sense? Everybody with me? We're going to get back into this. I think even today we're going to get back into talking about the nature of the mind and how we identify with the mind. I think in our crudest level of awareness, we identify with the body. And if we can get past that, still we identify with the mind. The yogis are saying we have to go the whole way and identify only with the actual self. So we'll talk more about that. But before we do, are there any questions, any thoughts about what we discussed so far? We're quite open for questions. This is important stuff. Anyone? Yes, sir, in the back. One moment, we'll get you the microphone. One moment, please. Here you go. Thank you, Celeste.
Hare Krishna Swamiji.
Yes.
I have a question that when the humanity starts, God send us as a self-realized being. Then what happens? Then we get scattered in our own minds. Then we have to work again to become self-realized.
In other words, how is it that we're in illusion?
Yeah, how it
Yeah.
happens, and now we are going back.
It's the
Does the work? Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, and this is, in one sense, this is a very fundamental question, and it's a question that we could speak the entire class and more classes on. And it's also something very subtle and difficult to understand from the perspective from which we're examining it right now. But let me share at least this much, that if someone, and this is real important kind of background to all of this, so thank you for asking the question. Consider this. A child, let's say a little boy, sees his father driving a car, okay? Now, what desire springs up in the mind of the child when he sees the father driving the car? What does he want? He wants to drive the car, right? So desire comes up. Now, the father loves the child and wants to fulfill the desire of the child, but it's also impossible, physically impossible. He's not big enough to even reach the gas pedal, and what to speak of have the motor skills or the responsibility necessary to drive an automobile. But the desire is there, but the reality does not facilitate it. So if the desire cannot be fulfilled in reality, where will it have to be fulfilled?
Fantasy or virtual, with a toy.
I'm not, somehow the echo here, I'm not hearing anything. But if it can't be fulfilled in reality, it must be fulfilled in illusion. Okay? So the father tries to provide an illusion, a reflection, a virtual car for the child. And he may do that by, sometimes they buy these expensive, have you ever seen sometimes like I don't know how much they cost, but it's like a little car that the child sits in, electric, I guess, or battery operated car. And the child feels like I'm driving a real car. But it may even be just a cardboard box. And he draws some wheels on it. He says, here's a car. And the child says, oh, yeah. And now this is important. The artificial car, the virtual car, is a reflection of original car, right? If the original car did not exist first, the artificial car would never exist. It's a reflection of it. It's based on the original car, right? So similarly, there's a desire within to experience a role that reality will not facilitate. Right? Those that were here for the question and answers last night, we quoted this verse from the Upanishads, Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. Amongst the unlimited eternal beings, we're talking about the nature of the self. We're eternal, Sat, right? We're conscious, Chit. We're blissful, Ananda. So amongst the unlimited, Nityanam, amongst the unlimited eternal beings, Nityo, there's one eternal being. Chaitanas Chaitananam, amongst the unlimited conscious beings, there's one conscious being. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. The many are dependent on the one. So this is giving us an ontological understanding of how the universe is designed. It's saying that there's a root to it. Just like a tree has a central root system, one root, and then it has unlimited, well, not unlimited, but like so many leaves on the tree. So many leaves, all dependent on the root. There's not one leaf on that tree that's not dependent on the root. And so the Upanishads are telling us that there's a root to all existence, and that root maintains every living being that's connected to it. Right? If the self is wondering, what is that role like? What is it like to be the maintainer of all living beings? And there's more to it, because that being, the Upanishads and the Vedas speak of him as the Purusha. Purusha means person, but it also means the enjoyer. That there's one central enjoyer. This is now the conversation starts to get esoteric. But I bring this part up because what is it like to be the central enjoyer? Rather than be the relative enjoyer. In other words, it's saying that our bliss in life manifests in relation to that central figure through a connection of love through the central figure, with the central figure. But we might feel, what if I were that central figure? And we search for that in this world. We try to design the world so that it's revolving around us. If we truly examine what we're doing here, we're trying to make it revolve around us, rather than saying, let me revolve around the center. You understand? So that's the illusion. That's the desire that can't be fulfilled in reality. So therefore, illusion is created for us to experiment with, trying to feel that. If our karma is very good, if we accrue good karma in this world, then we may get experiences that make us feel like that. You ever see sometimes someone steps out on a stage like a famous musician, or maybe runs out onto an athletic field, and there's a stadium with like 80,000 people cheering their name, adoring them, right? They say it's very difficult to give that up. Sometimes these athletes, they get old and they want to keep playing, but they can't play as well as they used to play. You understand? The karma is running down. It's just like a bank account. And they, you know, because they have this long reputation, you know, they have enough influence that they can remain on the team, but everybody's starting to complain about them. They're not performing very well anymore. But they're saying, no, I'm just going through a bad streak. I'm going to get better. You're going to see. Can't you trust me? I've always done so well. Because they can't give up that feeling that when they step out, they know they're never going to feel that again. To step out there and have everyone cheering for them. Right? So we try to experience that feeling of being the central enjoyer, but it can only be facilitated in illusion. And for the illusion to work, you have to forget about reality. In other words, if the little child is in that toy car, right? The father said, okay, you can't drive a real car, but I'm going to give you the illusion so that you can enjoy the toy car. And if someone comes up and says, that's not a real car, this is a cardboard box, it counters the child's ability to enter into the illusion and taste it, right? He's sitting here like, I'm driving a car. And someone says, that's not a car. Are you kidding me? You understand? So if we're going to try to enjoy illusion, we need to forget that it's illusion. We need to forget the reality. And that's called Maya, right? That which is not. So we think, I am this body. We're not this body. This body is just a vehicle that we're passing through for a moment. We think, I am this mind. We're not this mind. The mind is just like a computer through which we're engaging with the world. It stores information, it processes information, it's used to send out information. But it's not who we are, right? The inclinations in the mind, we think that's us. Our likes, our dislikes, our passions. These are things that are changing constantly. The self never changes. Is this answering your question? Is it getting to it? Okay.
He says why we are in the illusion.
Well, and so my answer is that in order to enjoy something that's reality can't facilitate, illusion becomes the realm in which we pursue those desires. If we let go of those desires, then we don't have to remain in the illusion, and we can enter back into reality. It's the desires that are holding us to this world. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would give an example and say, we are like someone holding on to a tree and saying, let go, let go. You know, it's our own desires that are holding us here. If we're saying, why am I stuck in this material realm? We're stuck in it because we're holding on to it, because we're maintaining desires that can only be fulfilled in illusion. But if we were to accept the reality, nityo nityanam, chaitanya is chaitananam, that amongst, I'm one of the many eternal conscious beings, and there's one eternal conscious being with unlimited potency, and very fortunately, unlimited capacity to love and reciprocate with love. And if I simply accept that I revolve around that central, all-powerful, all blissful, all attractive, all loving being, then we snap back into reality and we let go of all the misery of the material realm. Okay?
We're searching for it at a wrong place. Happens, eternal happiness.
That's another subject, but yes, we're searching for it in illusion. Yes, and forgive me, I'm forgetting your name. Savita, yes. One moment, we'll bring in the microphone.
It's that desire, but also along with the illusion that I am the doer, right? I'm
That's
the
part of
separate
it.
doer.
Yes, the original, the Adikarta, the original doer is Sri Krishna. So we become the artificial doer. You know, kart aham iti manyate. This is Bhagavad Gita 327. What is it? Ahankara vimudhatma kart aham iti manyate. That bewildered by false ego, we think, I am the doer, right? When real, and this is a deep subject because don't we do things in this world? But in a sense, we don't. In a sense, all we do is desire. I could give analogies about that too, but maybe we'll be going too far off course right now if we do. But we'll get there for sure. Thank you. Okay. So let's start here today. We spoke yesterday that scientists have something they call the periodic table, which lists something like over 100 different elements. Yes, you're all familiar with that, right? So that's one way to break down the world that we live in and examine it. There are other ways to break it down too, different ways we can categorize things. So the yogis say, the ancient yogic texts say, that if we want to examine the world that we live in, we could begin to break it down initially into two different ingredients, or we can say two different types of energy. And those energies, they call them Purusha and Prakriti. In English, we might call them spirit, Purusha, and matter, Prakriti. Material energy and spiritual energy. If you just understand this basic division, you begin to understand so much about this world that we live in. 10,000 years ago, if you would have climbed up these mountains and went way up into the hills, you would have found yogis that would say that there are two types of energy existing in this world, making up this world. There's the spiritual energy and there's the material energy. And 10,000 years from now, if you climb up those same mountains, you're going to find yogis saying the exact same thing. Currently, in our world, there are materialistic scientists that are insisting that there's only material energy, and that consciousness arises out of a combination of material ingredients. You understand? In other words, the question is, and this is what they call the hard question of consciousness, what is this awareness, this feeling that we have, this ability to experience, to think, to experience? Consciousness, awareness, where does it come from? We have all the material ingredients. You take the periodical table, you take all the elements, now blend those elements in such a way where a conscious being manifests. They can't do it, right? The yogis are saying, yeah, you'll never be able to do it. 10,000 years ago, you weren't able to do it. Now you're not able to do it. And 10,000 years from now, you will not be able to create a conscious being out of material energy, because consciousness is the symptom of another type of energy, and that's called the spirit, the soul. Okay, so you have Purusha, which means person, also, person or spirit, and you have Prakriti. Our bodies are made of Prakriti. Even our minds are made of a finer grade of Prakriti, a finer grade of material energy. And the one that's experiencing the body and the mind, the self, the conscious soul, is made out of spirit, made out of spiritual energy, the soul. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. This is the most pressing question in science right now, and the one that they wrestle with like crazy. Right? But let's open up the Bhagavad Gita and just read some of the fundamental teachings. This is really where Bhagavad Gita begins. We'll open up to chapter 2, text number, say 11 or 12. Text 12, Krishna says to Arjuna, Natvevaham jatuna samnatvam ne me janadipa. Never is there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all of these warriors on the battlefield, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be, right? Because although many of us may die on this battlefield today, we never die. It's only the body that dies. And so he goes on to explain. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Now, let's think carefully about this verse, okay? He made a statement. Essentially, that statement is, we've always existed, we never die. And then he says, don't just take my word for it. Consider your own experience, right? We're all born into an infant's body, and that body is made out of trillions of cells. And from the moment that we're born, those cells are in a state of flux, in a state of change. They're being rearranged, they're splitting, they're expanding, they're growing old, and they're dying. The body from the very beginning is in a constant state of change. And we go through different bodies. How many of you remember what it was like to be in an infant's body? None of us, right? But we know that we were there, right? We don't remember that body. But I think memories, at least for myself, I think maybe I remember one or two things like when I was 2, but I think it's really about when I was 3 that I have a couple memories. I remember seeing the broadcast of the moon landing as a 3-year-old. I remember the first, what do they call it when a television show comes on for the first time? Premiere. I remember the premiere of Sesame Street. My mother sitting me down, oh, there's a new television show, you should see this. Okay. I remember getting on the back of my father's motorcycle. I was afraid to do it, and then I finally built up the courage, and I got up on that thing. So I just have few just little memories from then. And then as we expand, as we grow older, more memories start to fill in. It becomes easier. It becomes easier to reach back into the hard drive of the mind and pull up files from the past, although they seem inaccessible when we go back to earlier age. But the fact is, I remember what it was like to be 3 years old. But where is my 3-year-old body? You understand? You can say, well, here it is. No, this is made out of all different stuff, right? You understand? The cells die, they're being replaced, they're changing. I'm in a very different body than I was in when I was a 3-year-old. But I remember that body, right? The same person, the same seer, the same self, the perceiver of that body is still here. And I remember what it's like to be in a 10-year-old body, a 20-year-old body, a 30, 40, 50-year-old body. And now I'm in a 60-year-old body. I can look back and I can remember that, but the bodies are gone. So this is what Krishna is saying here. Consider this, and consider that if we're not dependent on any one body at any particular phase, then can't you see that the self is independent of the body? And why would you think the self would end when the body ends? It's just not logical. That makes sense?
Yes.
This is what he's saying. So then he's going to give him some further instruction on this. He says, those who are seers of the truth, they have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance. It doesn't last. And of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. In one sense, it's a very simple thing, but in another sense, it's an extremely profound thing. And many of the most intelligent minds in our world right now struggle trying to understand this, right? That there's something that endures. And the yogis, they say that that's real. It's satya. What is it? Nasato vidyate bhavo, nabhavo vidyate sataha. They're saying, what is true? What is real? Now think about this. A child has a nightmare, right? They wake up, they're sweating, and they wake up and they're traumatized by the dream that they just had. And what does the mother say to the child? Don't worry, right? Because it was just a dream. It was just a dream. Meaning that although you experienced it as being very real, and although it traumatized you, it's gone. It's not here anymore. You experienced it as being real, but poof, it's disappeared. Now, this is something younger people don't have this experience so much, but older people, they have it a lot. They look back at their life and they say, it was just like a dream. Because what was there is now gone. I used to be in this healthy body. It was young, it was vibrant, it was attractive, right? I had all kinds of beautiful adventures in that body, adventures of love and romance, but it's gone. The person that I had the romance with is gone. The bodies that we enjoyed the romance in are gone. Poof, it's just like a dream. You can't touch it. You understand?
Yes.
So the yogis are saying, just like a dream is not real, that is also not real. It was real in the sense that it did exist, but it's unreal in the sense that, like a dream, it's gone. Is a dream real?
No.
It kind of is. I mean, you did experience it, did you not? Right? But it's kind of not, right? It's here and there. It's not the true reality. Anything that comes and goes, the yogis are saying, it's real in one sense, but then it's gone. They have a higher standard of reality. Reality is that which doesn't change. My body that I enjoyed my youth in is gone, unreal. All the experiences that I had, they're gone, in a sense, unreal. But what's real? I'm still here. The self is still here, right? So Krishna's saying, focus on what's real, right? He'll go on to say that the body, the changing of the bodies is just like changing our clothes, right? We take off some clothes, we put on new clothes, right? We're taking off bodies, we're putting on new bodies. The self is that which remains. Okay? Questions about this? Okay, then let's what we're the topic that we're discussing right now. The yogis call this Atma Jnana. Atma Jnana. Knowledge, jnana of the Atma, of the self, self-knowledge, self-realization. Through contemplating Atma Jnana, one can achieve self-realization. We can understand who we are. So they'd say this is important stuff to discuss, right? Really important stuff to discuss. If we're going to identify with the body, we're going to be doomed to suffer. So the wise person begins to contemplate this. Think about this. Now, you may say, Kastuba, I get it that the body is this physical thing. I get it that it's always changing. I'm appreciating this idea that true things are things that last, and things that don't last are, in a sense, unreal. But what about the mind? I mean, the mind is different from the body. We're kind of stuck with a particular body, but the mind is really who I am, right? Let's say if you stop a person on the street, just a stranger, and you ask them this incredibly simple but somehow elusive question: who are you? Right? Who are you? What is the first thing that they're most likely to say? Their name, right? And then we say, well, yes, but the name is just like a label placed on you. Who are you? Right? Who are you? Then what are they going to say? Maybe their job, this is what I do, maybe where they're from, right? Different activities that they do, something like that. But you say, no, that's just your job. That's just what you're doing temporarily. Who are you, right? Then what might they say? Dig a little deeper. Right? They might go to like their passions in life. You know, I'm a musician. I'm all about music. You know, I'm into spirituality. You know, I'm conservative. I'm liberal. I'm a lover of the arts. You know, I'm a mother. You know, something that goes a little deeper to their heart, they may say. But the yogis are going to say all of these are temporary, right? There are they count this in different ways. It's hard to say, but sometimes they say we have something like 60,000 thoughts in a day, something like that. Yeah. Some say no, it's like more like 20. Okay, whatever it is, it's a lot of thoughts. They're going through our mind. They also say that the majority of them are repetitive, right, and unpleasant. So the mind is like constantly thinking, right? And we tend to think those thoughts are me, right? Those passions are me. That's who I am. Someone may say, we say, no, really, who are you? And how do we identify? We may identify, let's say, like I'm a sophisticated person, or I'm a down-to-earth kind of guy, you know? But what the yogis are saying is that just like the body is changing, these convictions of who you are, and even what is right and what is wrong, they're shifting all the time, you know? We identify with this material body, and we say, I'm a man or I'm a woman. I'm black or I'm white. I'm American or I'm Indian. The mind forms around the body and accepts that identity, and also the different passions and so that it has. But the moment that the soul leaves the body, it ceases to identify with it. And even all of those thoughts that it had, those convictions about its own passions and so on, they're gone. Then the soul enters a new body carrying the subtle mind with it. But as soon as it enters that new body, all of the programming on that mind starts to get updated. A lot of files are erased, new files are added. You come out of the womb and you think, this is me. And then you begin to identify entirely with that body again. And you begin to think in a new way. And you take on new convictions. new convictions about who you are, new convictions about what is right, or what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, right? So they all slip away as well, right? But there's something that endures, and that's the self. And the yogis are saying, all of our happiness is tied to these temporary things, both the body and the mind. You can transcend it by realizing the self. Okay. Questions? Everybody okay? Yes. Andre, right? Adrian. Adrian.
Andre,
Andre, okay.
thank you, Prabhu. I just would like you to ask you to repeat the last sentence. So, like,
Oh, I wish I remembered what it was.
yeah,
Our happiness is connected to the body and to the, if our happiness is connected to the body and the mind, maybe I said something like that, that then we're destined to suffer. Is that what I said? I'm sorry. My memory is very poor.
mine also. That's why I asked.
Okay. But the video is there. Let's take this idea of Atmagyana, knowledge of the self. We're saying that it can do something for the individual, that it can free us of the pain that we experience when it's tied to identification with the temporary. Let's examine it further and talk about what it can do for society. Are you interested in that? Yes? Are you sure you're interested in this? Yes. I really need to know. Yes. I need to know louder. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Because this is really important. We live in a world that's full of suffering, that's full of injustices, that's full of tensions and conflicts. And our suffering is born of these tensions and conflicts and injustices, is it not? Right? We may dedicate our life to even helping relieve one of these tensions or one of these conflicts or one of these injustices in the world. It may be racism, it may be sexism, it may be nationalism. There's so many ways that we develop conflicts and we suffer, so many types of injustice. We may dedicate our life to it, and that's a noble life lived. And yet we see that these persist generation after generation after generation after generation. So much work is put in, so much sacrifice made, and still they persist. And even if we were to solve one, and even just solve it for a temporary span of time, still all those other conflicts and all those other injustices would remain. The yogis are saying that knowledge is powerful, and knowledge of the self is the most important knowledge. And knowledge of the self has the potential not only to relieve the suffering of the individual, but it has the potential to address all of these conflicts and all of these injustices in one move. There's a saying in English, a rising tide lifts all boats. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
Right? It doesn't matter how many boats there are in the water. If the tide rises, all the boats rise with it. The yogis are saying that knowledge of the self has the potential to solve all of the conflicts, to address all of the injustices, this one feature or facet of understanding, knowledge of the self. Now, I want you to think about something. I'm going to use an analogy. Imagine that we lived, our world is a little bit like what I'm about to say, but imagine if it was like totally like this. Imagine if we lived in a world where who you are and how you were accepted and the privileges that you had and the way that you were seen by others, the opportunities that you received in life were determined entirely by the model of car that you drove. Okay? It sounds ridiculous. Those people that are driving luxury cars, Lexuses and Porsches, Mercedes-Benz, etc., they're seen as better people, more trustworthy, the beautiful people. They're given opportunities. They're given wealth and fame, and doors are open for them. When they drive their car down the street, everybody gets out of their way, right? They're seen as high-level individuals, A-list people, right? And people that are driving economy cars are seen as second, third-class citizens, not so important. Doors aren't open for them. You understand? You can picture this world? Okay. Do you think there'd be a lot of tension in that world? Yes? No? Think there would be a lot of conflict in that world? A lot of resentment?
Yeah.
A lot of hatred? Now imagine if you took that same exact scenario, but then you said the next day a law was passed, and that law is that every day everyone must shift cars. Okay? Today you're driving a Lexus, but tomorrow you know that you're going to get some random selection of car, and it's very likely that you're going to be driving a a Camry. Who makes the Camry?
Toyota.
A Toyota Camry. Just imagine, right? Something worse than a Camry.
Or a Nano in India, which is the
Nano.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
the least expensive.
Okay, a Nano. When I was growing up, it was like the Gremlin or the Pacer, or there are other cars. So you're going to shift. And those people that are driving these economy cars, they know tomorrow I'm likely going to be driving a Lexus. Everybody knows that they're shifting every day. Okay? Everybody knows this. Everybody knows that who they are, their value in this world has nothing to do with the car that they're in. That's just something that's shifting. Okay? How do you think that would affect the tensions that were there before? You could no longer be proud, embracing some false identity of pride based on the car you're driving, or feel resentment, or feel lesser than, feel unworthy. You'd be relieved of what the society would be relieved of all of these sufferings. You understand? You could no longer say this group of car drivers are special and these ones are not so special. These are the good people and these are the bad people. Imagine what it would do, Even fear, right? People might fear the other group of drivers, They might create laws that would oppress them or suppress them in different ways based on this fear. You understand? But now that's all gone because we all know we're shifting constantly. The yogis are saying that that's what's happening here, right? Our identities, we're basing our identities on bodies that are always shifting, and we're shifting bodies all the time, right? And not just human bodies, but we're actually shifting into different species, right? I'm a man this life, but I may have been a woman in the one before that. I'm white in this life, I may have been black in the one before that, right? I'm American in this life, I may have been Indian in the one before that. And in the next one, I don't know what I'm going to be. I've been black, white, man, woman, human, animal, plant. This is what the yogis are saying, and all of us have. And we're all shifting all the time. And these external differences are very superficial and constantly in a state of flux and ultimately unimportant. All right? That knowledge, that Atmagyana, has the ability to address racism, sexism, nationalism, and all the tensions and all the conflicts that are based on it. One rising tide lifting all the boats. You understand? So this is why, this knowledge is so important. It comes from texts that are thousands and thousands of years old, but it's entirely relevant for what we're going through today. Again, on the individual level, as well as on the social level, on the collective level. Any thoughts or questions about that? Yes, Hari Kirtan in the back.
First of all, thank you for explaining everything so practically and understandably. I have a question on this point, especially in spiritual communities where, let's say, the path of self-realization is taught, Atmagyan, and that we're not this body. that there can be, let's say, if there's a misunderstanding of this, there can be also a tendency to escapism and not acknowledging, let's say, the body that we have in the moment that can be a tool or an experience that we're meant to work through. How do we balance pursuing self-realization without spiritual bypassing and, let's say, not acknowledging that we're in a human body and there's certain things that we also need to address in this life?
No, thank you for the question. This spiritual knowledge, it's although it addresses that which is well, sometimes Prabhupada refers to it as phenomenal and numinous, right? Like there's the phenomenal, like this world that we're in, like I may not be this body, but I'm connected to it right now, right? So there's two aspects to our lives. There's the spiritual aspect and there's the material aspect. Ultimately, the material aspect is going to change and then be gone forever. But does that mean that it's entirely unimportant? No, not necessarily. And different spiritual practitioners will approach it in different ways. And I think it's important that we, as long as it's authentic and as long as it's manifesting through compassion, that it can be honored. So some people are like, some spiritual practitioners are like almost entirely otherworldly, right? They may go off into a cave and live there and you know, eat practically just roots and not have a family, walk away from all material responsibilities, and that's a valid path. But most of us are going to be of this world. This is the Bhagavad Gita's, you know, example that Arjuna is a person that has worldly responsibilities, and Krishna is saying you need to step up and embrace your worldly responsibility, but do it as a yogi. Do it with the awareness of a yogi. So be responsible, be dutiful, do it well informed of who you are, what the self is, right? Through that, you can achieve a state of realization or state of wisdom by which, through embracing your worldly responsibilities, you can learn to let go of them. And you can be simultaneously active and responsible in this world and at the same time otherworldly. At the same time, you know, so it's kind of like, there's kind of like two tracks and the yogi's existing on both of them at the same time. Right? This is really the teachings of the Gita, essential to the teachings of the Gita, that there's a way that we can move through this world being dutiful and responsible, and at the same time, not only realizing I'm not the body, not only realizing that I'm spiritual and I'm eternal, but having the deepest spiritual realization and ultimately the deepest spiritual love at the same time. So this is the path laid out in the Gita. It's the path recommended in the Gita. So both need to be honored simultaneously. Is that okay? And we are out of time for today, but I want to pick up here tomorrow. I want to go deeper into this idea of us entering not only human bodies, but even animal bodies or plant bodies, and where that leaves us, and then we'll continue from there. Thank you all so much for spending this time with us today. I look forward to seeing, so there will be no class tomorrow. Yeah, no, not on Mondays. So I look forward to seeing you hopefully on Tuesday or tonight. If you'd like to come by for the question and answers, I'll be in the question and answer booth.
And you were to share your experience with enlightened people.
Oh, I still haven't shared that. You're smart. Thank you all so very much. Hari Om
Hari Om Tat Sat.
Tat Sat.